I've talked to a lot of amazing people on this podcast, but if you're like me, you want to go deeper. So, where can you go to learn from the most remarkable people? That's Masterclass. This year, learn from the best to become your best with Masterclass. Everyone likes to talk about improving. Masterclass helps you actually do it. Masterclass offers over 180 world class instructors. So, whether you want to master negotiation with Chris Voss, think like a boss with Martha Stewart, or use humor to make your mark with Kevin Hart. And right now, our listeners will get an additional 15% off an annual membership at masterclass.com/ratchet. Get 15% off right now at masterclass.com/ratchet. Masterclass.com/ratchet. In the summer, you probably find yourself spending a lot more money eating out. It's okay, it happens to the best of us. But with Home Chef, you can save time and money while still getting that dining out feeling. Home Chef provides fresh ingredients and chef designed recipes conveniently delivered to your doorstep to simplify your cooking experience. Whether you prefer classic meal kits with pre portioned ingredients and easy instructions, speedy recipes ready in less than 30 minutes, oven ready kits with pre chopped ingredients, or quick microwave meals that assemble in minutes. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 18 free meals plus free dessert for life. And of course, free shipping on your first box. Go to homechef.com/ratchet. That's homechef.com/ratchet for 18 free meals and free dessert for life. Homechef.com/ratchet. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. You know it's not fair. The fact that Netflix hides thousands of shows and movies from you based on your location, and then has the nerve to just keep increasing their prices on you. Now, you could just cancel your subscription and protest, or you could be smart about it and make sure you're getting your full money's worth, like I do, by using ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN lets you change your online location so you can control where you want Netflix to think you're located. They have servers in over 100 countries, so you can gain access to thousands of new shows and never run out of stuff to watch. So be smart. Stop paying full price for streaming services and only getting access to a fraction of their content. Get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/ratchet. Don't forget to use my link at expressvpn.com/ratchet to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable. I'm in Martha's Vineyard. Did I tell you I was coming here? I told you I was going to Chicago for NABJ. I was hosting a panel, moderating a panel for ViV Healthcare on the social impact of HIV. Really good panel. I love when I have panelists who make my job easy. As moderator, your job is to, essentially ask the questions that the audience wants to know and control the pace of the conversation, make sure that all the points are hit, especially when it's like a sponsored thing. It was an amazing panel because they were in a good conversation and they were really passionate about what they were talking about and they were also hitting all the marks. So at one point, like I literally just put my microphone down and like put my hand under my chin and was like following the conversation like I was in the audience. When good things are occurring, you don't interrupt them. The worst thing on earth is being on stage and the panel is just dry. Because if you're in the audience, you can just get up and walk out. I can't just walk off stage. It was a really strong conversation about dismantling shame and having open conversations about sexual health, sexual history, sexual preferences, safe sex. I was glad that I was able to participate. Unfortunately, I didn't get to hang out in Chicago as long as I wanted. I had planned originally to stay through the weekend, but I cut my trip short in order to come to Martha's Vineyard. My friend hit me up last minute. She had a house, and one of her friends, and they booked this like months ago. One of the friends in the house wasn't able to make the trip. And so she was like, "Hey, we got an extra room. You want to come?" And I was like, "I absolutely do." And I was like, "Let me figure out my life." So I just went straight from Chicago to here. This is my first time here. I was always a Hamptons girl. Being on the Vineyard is pretty fun. The Obamas are here. I have not had an Obama sighting just yet. One of my friends was shooting an event the other day. She She's a photographer, videographer. She said she was shooting the event, and I know what the event was, so I know like a bunch of people who would likely have been in the room. The woman who hosted attends Leading Women Defined every year. So like I kind of know some of the people that she might know. But she said midway through the event, the Secret Service walked in. And then Michelle Obama waltzed in. And I was like, oh my God, I would have died. I would have died. Y'all know how I feel about Mrs. Obama. So far, no Obama sighting. Not the parents or the kids. Nothing against Malia, but Sasha's my favorite Obama. Her mother is a close second. Everyone and their mom is here. I mean, literally, my friends are here with their parents too. I mean, technically, I'm just here to be here, but I'm also here at the time of the film festival. It's been going on since Saturday. I just went for the first time today. Natasha Rockwell, Kelly from Insecure, she has a new show coming out on Hulu. So I went to see that today. And then, like, my baby bestie, Gia Peppers, she was interviewing Natasha after her talk. So I went to check that out. It was really good. Her show, it's called How to Die Alone, I think. It's about a 35-year-old woman, Natasha Rockwell. I want to say she's the creator, showrunner, and star of the project, but she's a 35-year-old woman in a rather unfulfilling job, I would say. Doesn't have a lot of friends, isn't close to family, and she decides that she wants more out of life. And so, what does that look like? So, that's what the first episode, that's all that was screened, gets us to. So, her not having a life to deciding she wants more. It is a wild, wild ride to get her to the wanting more, but it's very fulfilling. It's not insecurish at all. It's a totally different thing. I don't know what to compare it to, which I think is actually really good. Smart. It's different. I love her writing. I love her comedy. I love her acting. I enjoyed it very much. And then I watched a documentary on The South Got Something to Say. Remember that infamous line, or famous, I guess, the Source Awards, mid 90s. It's the very infamous Source Awards that had all the chaos, but Outkast wins an award and Andre gets on the mic and he says, the South got something to say, hence the name of the documentary. So it's about the history of hip hop in, I would say in Atlanta specifically, but it covers a lot. It covers obviously the music, but then it also talks about politics. It talks about art, some history of Atlanta, the D-Boys of Atlanta. T.I. is in it, and they were asking him. This is probably the thing that stood out the most to me in the documentary. They asked T.I. because they credit him with being like the innovator of trap music, which I was like, is it? Okay, let's go with that. But they were like, T.I., why did you start making trap music? And T.I., he likes to use a lot of big words. The simplified version of what he said was there was Outkast and there was Goody Mob and there was Little John, but he didn't feel like drug dealers were properly represented in the music. And he was like, Atlanta has a lot of drug dealers and a lot of people who would relate to the life and lifestyle. That's a quote from him, life and lifestyle of selling drugs. And so he wanted to create music to represent for that demographic. I was like, sir, did you just create diversity, equity, and inclusion for drug dealers? You and Jeezy. Okay. Notably missing from the documentary, and this came up in the conversation afterward because the $1 million question was like, well, where was Andre Benjamin? You named the film after his quote, but he's nowhere to be seen. And they were like, we reached out to him, but Rico Wade told us that he wasn't available because he was working on an instrumental album, which turned out to be, him on that flute. You know how I feel about Andre on the flute. I'm not gonna belabor it, but he was not in the documentary at all. They talked about Outkast extensively for obvious reasons, but he was not in the documentary. But neither was Big Boy. And Andre and Big Boy usually operate as separate entities. And I was like, well, where's Big Boy? Like, I was like, I understand Andre is considered the bigger star, but I was like, Big Boy ain't no slouch and is the other half of Outkast. Like, he can effectively speak on Outkast. But no Big Boy either. And no Ludacris. Like, when I think of Atlanta rappers, like, certain people come to mind. Ludacris being in the top 5, I would say. But Ludacris was nowhere to be found, and they didn't say anything about why Luda wasn't included. They had Killer Mike. Killer Mike actually did good. They were talking about the riots in Atlanta after George Floyd was murdered. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottom, she was on the panel too. They were talking about how in the middle of the riots, she called in T.I. and Killer Mike to address the population and basically tell folks to go home. And then Killer Mike explained his logic for, accepting the call. The short version, he was like, you burning down your own shit. Stop that. They not rebuilding it. They were like, Buckhead is going to get rebuilt. Bankhead, not so much. It was a good documentary. I was glad I went out. The weather has not been so great today. Yesterday it was beautiful. It was hot. We went to the beach and hung out. It was 50 million black people on the beach. And I was trying to think, I don't know, short of being in Ghana, when I've been on the beach with 50 million black people. I mean, back in the day, like, I don't know, Myrtle Beach Bike Week, maybe. Even then, I don't remember people being on the beach. I mean, people were everywhere. But actually laying out on the beach chilling, I don't recall. It's very cute here. Lots of events, lots of sponsors. I'm running into people, I was going to say from all walks of life, but they're really from the same walk of life. They just live in different cities. But everybody has converged on the vineyard these 2 weeks. And the randomest of people are hitting me up like, oh, you're here. Are you doing an event? And I was like, actually, no, I'm here chilling. A congresswoman hit me up and she's like, hey, Demetria, huge fan of the podcast. I heard you're taping while you're here. Are you doing an event? And I had to check. Like, I saw the name, but it didn't say Congresswoman so and so. It just, first and last. And I had to go to her page and be like, wait, because there's only one person with this name. And I was like, oh shit, she listens to the podcast? Who knew? I mean, I guess she knew. And whoever told her knew. Another weird phenomenon, because I'm not in the States, so I miss some stuff. I'll just randomly be talking to a friend, and then somebody will turn around and go, Demetria? People recognize my voice more than they recognize my face. It's happened like 6 or 7 times in the last 2 days. I mean, my hair is pulled back in a bun, but the last 2 days it was up in a fro. It wasn't my usual fro. The humidity got to my hair, so it's giving more Angela Davis than like my usual twist out, but it's fine. But I had to pull it back in a ponytail today. I was like, I just got too much goddamn hair. I seriously thought about cutting all my hair off this morning. It was just this whole nother story, unimportant. But no, but there's tons of events going on this week. And I hope to hit up as many as humanly possible. And I'm supposed to go back on Saturday. There's a bunch of stuff going on next week too. This is like the most popular 2 weeks of the summer. If I can figure out a way to stay here, I will. But all the hotels are pretty booked up. Literally nothing's available. And when I checked, it was like a basic room was like $900 a night on like a Thursday. Friday was like 1100. Saturday was like 14. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here that bad. Like literally, like I put my dates in to see what was available for one of the hotels that came up, and it came up as like 4,000 something something something, and I was like, oh, is my laptop still in pesos? Like I had to check and see if my VPN was still on. I was like, oh no, they want that in USD. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like I'm having a good time. I'd like to stay. I don't want to stay that bad. But yeah, good times. I'm just running into so many folks. It's like a gigantic reunion. And I was like, is this what I've been missing out on all these years? My bad. You know it's not fair. The fact that Netflix hides thousands of shows and movies from you based on your location, and then has the nerve to just keep increasing their prices on you. Now, you could just cancel your subscription and protest, or you could be smart about it and make sure you're getting your full money's worth, like I do, by using ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN lets you change your online location so you can control where you want Netflix to think you're located. They have servers in over 100 countries, so you can gain access to thousands of new shows and never run out of stuff to watch. And ExpressVPN is so easy to use. You fire up the app and click one button to change locations, and that's it. You're done. And it works on all your devices: phones, laptops, tablets, smart TVs, and more. What I love about ExpressVPN is I can watch all my favorite shows no matter where I am. If I start watching something in the US and then I go to Ghana, I can keep up with the series, even if it's not available in Ghana. I can watch season 1 in the US, season 2 in Ghana, season 3 in Cape Town, and season 4 wherever else I am in the world. So be smart. Stop paying full price for streaming services and only getting access to a fraction of their content. Get your money's worth at expressvpn.com/ratchet. Don't forget to use my link at expressvpn.com/ratchet to get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. When your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, non negotiables like therapy are more important than ever. You know, I'm a huge advocate of therapy. I think everyone should have a little, especially the people that don't think they need it. Friend, you probably need it the most. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. I love how easy BetterHelp makes it to access professional help. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/ratchet today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ratchet. What else is going on? We didn't do, I mean, I did do a podcast. I put up the live episode from Miami on Friday, so we didn't get a chance to talk about the drama at NABJ. NABJ invites the president or the presidential candidates in election years to come speak. It's an organization of journalists. In election years, especially, it makes good sense to invite the leading candidates and also in other years, the sitting president. As a journalist, this makes sense to me. Interviewing the president of the United States is always a get. NABJ has invited Trump ever since he was the Republican nominee the first time around. They invited him every year that he was in office, and then they invited him again as he is the Republican nominee once again. For the first time this year, he said yes. I personally didn't have an issue with it. The National Association of Black Journalists is a professional organization for journalists. Journalists interview people. An interview is not an endorsement. I don't see a problem with interviewing someone, even if you think they're crazy, even if you don't agree with their policies. So that wasn't an issue for me. Very many people who were members of NABJ, and I'm not a member, even though I'm a Black journalist, but many members of NABJ, Roland Martin, for instance, April Ryan, for instance, and many others as well, were very, very vocal about Trump's attendance and that they didn't want him to be there. I was reading through the commentary, people talking about NABJ, and there was a very strong opinion that NABJ is a safe space for journalists. It's where people go to network. It's where they go to commune. This is their safe space. And someone like Trump, who has been so abrasive to media in general, but Black media in particular, and Black women in media specifically, they felt that inviting him into the safe space that was supposed to be NABJ was very much a violation, which I completely understand that perspective. It's not the one that I hold. It is the one that is largely held by members of the organization. And I think that it's best to default to the members of the organization. I'm a Black journalist, yes, but I'm also someone looking at the organization from the outside in. I don't go to NABJ every year. The last time I went was when it was in DC, which was 2017, 2018, when I was living in DC for that year and a half. It was somewhere in that time period. It might have even been 2016. I'm not even a regular attendee at the conferences. So I default to the members, many of whom were very much like, he shouldn't have been here. The other big issue, and I would say the biggest issue, even beyond Trump being accepted, NABJ had also reached out to the sitting vice president of the United States. She was also invited to NABJ. She had schedule conflicts and wasn't able to attend. As you know, she only very recently became the Democratic nominee. I think we're on week 2 of her campaign for president. So she had other things on her schedule. I would guess that NABJ had invited Biden and Trump, being as how Biden is the sitting president and was running for office until 2 weeks ago. So there's a new agenda, obviously, for the VP. One of the conflicts, she was speaking at, it was one of the Black sororities, colored sororities. I think it was Sigma Gamma Rho. I think she spoke to those ladies. And also, she was going to the funeral of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. So she wasn't able to be at NABJ in person. NABJ, according to reporting by April Ryan, she was all over this story. And she reported that the leadership for NABJ had talked to the Harris campaign. I know a couple people who are very high ranking over there. I'm from the DMV. Everyone knows people who work in the White House. It's not even a flex to say that. They reached out to Kamala Harris to ask her to come. She said, I can't. I have these previous engagements and these major schedule conflicts. So the vice president offered to do a virtual town hall. For whatever reason, the leadership at NABJ was like, no, we're good. If you're not going to be here in person, then we're not doing it. And I was like, huh? Who turns down a conversation with the sitting vice president, the black and Asian sitting vice president of the United States, and you're a black organization? Why? No one can figure it out. And to my knowledge, thus far, the leadership has not explained. When the news became public that they weren't accommodating to the sitting vice president and presidential nominee for the Democrats, when word got out and they started dragging them, that's when they circled back and was like, well, okay, well, let's talk about how to do something virtual. But apparently they worked something out, not for the conference, obviously, because that's over, but in September. But they had planned to do nothing at all until word got out that essentially they told the VP to go kick rocks. Just to be clear, because I've seen this not so much reported otherwise, I've seen people talking about it in the comments section. The VP was unable to attend due to prior schedule conflicts, including the funeral of a member of Congress. She offered to do virtual from jump, and NABJ said no. After it became a scandal, when their no became a news story, then they came back and was like, oh, okay, well, now we can do something virtual. But her intention was always to participate in some capacity because she had other, not better, other things to do. Did you see the interview? The Trump interview? It was the shit show that I expected and publicly predicted. I didn't get to NABJ until Thursday, and I had seriously debated changing my flight to go in a day early just to see it. But I was just like, it's going to be a hot mess. 100% sure. It was worse than I expected. Trump was Trump. He is belligerent, nasty. He doesn't answer questions unless he feels like it. They're not running on any sort of platform. It's just they name call and they make fun of people and they talk about various things that the current administration, things that they feel that they have done wrong. They don't like what Kamala Harris did at the borders. And he's still talking about Joe Biden, even though Biden is not running. He talks about Barack Hussein Obama as if that's who he was running against. I'm like, that man served his 8 years. He cannot run again. Like legally, constitutionally, he cannot serve as president again. Why are you still talking about this man? Let it go. Let it go. His latest thing, he said something about people never having to vote again. He was like, if you elect me, you'll be done with voting. You won't have to worry about it again. Like, sir, what, huh? What does that mean? But that wasn't on the NABJ stage. On the NABJ stage, the expectation was, especially because of what was going on with VP Harris not being invited, the speculation was clearly NABJ is like, and it wasn't just, people weren't just assigning this to the heads of NABJ, they were assigning it to the organization as a whole. And they were like, clearly this is like a pro-Trump organization. Could not be further than the truth. My God. They're going to platform Trump and then they're going to throw him all these softball questions. They're not going to ask him real shit. Rachel girl from ABC. What is Rachel's last name? Rachel Scott. She's the senior congressional correspondent. She asked Trump the first question. They were playing the clip everywhere, and we got through a whole day on Instagram, and nobody had put her question to the ether beat. Like her first question got in Trump's ass. I'm pulling up the question right now because I want to read it in its entirety. I'm reading this on EW.com. It's a long question, but I'm going to read it to you in its entirety because I think it's worthwhile. She said, I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You've pushed false claims about some of your rivals, to Nikki Haley, to former President Barack Obama, saying they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You've told 4 congresswomen of color who are American citizens to go back to where they came from. You've used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions they asked are stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you're asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you used language like that? Baby, Rachel girl came out the gate. She set the tone for the whole conversation. This is the type of questioning, like if you're going to have Trump on a stage in front of an audience of black journalists at a black journalist convention, these are the types of questions I expected to be asked. Rachel Scott did not disappoint. Trump, in response to her, showed his whole ass. He said, I don't think I've ever been asked a question in such a horrible manner. First question, you don't even say hello, how are you? Actually, she did before she launched into the question. When he came on stage, she greeted him. He says, are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. And then he continued to be an ass. He says, I don't know why you would do something like that. He says, let me go a step further. I was invited here, and I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. He continues. He says, and then you're here half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong. I think it's a very nasty question. He kept that shit up with her for the entire interview. Like, even when they were talking about something else, he would go back to talking about how, oh, the equipment is not working. Oh, it didn't start on time. It's like, oh, she was so rude. Like, he just kept going in on her. She can hold her own. She's a veteran journalist. She's not afraid to ask hard questions. She has huevos of steel. And still, the way he berated her on that stage, I had wished, and I know it's unrealistic because he's the Republican nominee, because he's the person of stature that he is in politics and in culture. I wish that someone from NABJ had interrupted the conversation, interrupted the interview, and chastised him and told him to get off the stage. I think that would have been absolutely wonderful. In my perfect world, that's what it would have been. But that's not what happened. It was a 34-minute interview. It was supposed to run for an hour. There's some question as to whether his people ended the interview because he was doing so poorly, or they ended the interview because time was up. Again, it started late. Trump blames it on NABJ not having their shit together. But did they end the interview because he was terrible, or was time just up and he had to go? There was a woman from Fox on the panel. She basically just did a whole bunch of softball questions. She really wanted everyone in the audience or everyone watching, she wanted everyone to know that she had interviewed Trump prior and they had one of his longest interviews and it was a great conversation. She was from Fox. She's a Trump fan. She a fan, she a fan, she a fan, she a fan. His disposition toward her was very nice. And there was also a third journalist on the stage. I can't think of anything remarkable that she said or did. I can't even remember the woman's name. But overall, it's hard for me to assess whether it was like a win or a lose. It certainly pissed off a good chunk, I think is fair. I didn't actually go and do a poll, so I don't know exactly how all of NABJ feels about it. But a bunch of people were pissed that he was there. There's, like we talked about prior. I would say in terms of the membership of NABJ, which who the conference should be about. I mean, these are people or their organizations at least who are paying for them to be there. So I would say it's a loss in that sense. But also without knowing, and I'm not even saying this to be like diplomatic, but without knowing the agenda or the reasoning for why Trump was invited, it's hard for me to say whether it was a win or a loss for the organization. And I'm making a distinction between NABJ as an organization and NABJ and their membership. I think it's fair to point out NABJ has never been discussed as much as it has been since they announced Trump was coming and then they had that disastrous interview. And I call it disastrous because I'm biased. Trump did that interview and then took it back to his base and was really proud of the way that he spoke to Rachel Scott and was really proud of the way that he, pushed back at NABJ for not having their shit together with their issues with the sound and then their issues with not starting on time. So he took that back to his base and it energized them, which was, I think, his whole point. So for him, he might actually consider it a win. Let me circle back to my other thought before I say the next thing. For the leadership of NABJ, if their goal was to have everyone talking about NABJ as an organization, mission accomplished. Because every major news network was talking about it. They were trending on social media. People who'd never heard of NABJ all of a sudden had opinions on NABJ and were talking about it. So if their goal was to raise their profile, mission accomplished. There is a school of thought that says all press is good press. I don't know if that's a thought process that leadership gives into, but if they do, they may consider having Trump, even with him dissing them, even with him taking back the clips and using it in a positive way for his base, they may think it was a win. I don't know. They really haven't said much. I've been looking for commentary and feedback from them because they've been taking a beating, but they haven't really said much. I actually predict that somebody's head is going to roll. Membership is pissed. Somebody's going to have to take a L. I've talked to a lot of amazing people on this podcast, but if you're like me, you want to go deeper. So, where can you go to learn from the most remarkable people? That's Masterclass. This year, learn from the best to become your best with Masterclass. Everyone likes to talk about improving. Masterclass helps you actually do it. Masterclass offers over 180 world-class instructors. So whether you want to master negotiation with Chris Voss, think like a boss with Martha Stewart, or use humor to make your mark with Kevin Hart, Masterclass has you covered. With Masterclass, you get unlimited access to intimate one-on-one classes with the world's best. There are over 200 classes to pick from, with new classes added every month. Like Martha Stewart's Think Like a Boss, Live Like a Legend. That class really helped me step my game up and thinking about the possibilities of what I can do. My favorite thing about Masterclass is every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. And right now, our listeners will get an additional 15% off an annual membership at masterclass.com/ratchet. Get 15% off right now at masterclass.com/ratchet. Masterclass.com/ratchet. Summer should be fun, not financially stressful. With the Chime Secured Credit Builder Visa credit card, it's easy to start building credit with everyday purchases and regular on-time payments with no annual fees or interest. And if your credit scores grow, so could your opportunities for lower rates on loans, like for a car or home. Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card can be used everywhere Visa credit cards are accepted. And my favorite part, you can build credit with your own money. In addition, you can access 60,000 fee-free ATMs. That's more than the top 3 national banks combined. And it's easy to find one near you with the Chime app. With Chime's secure credit card, you can improve your credit scores all summer long. Get started at chime.com/ratchet. That's chime.com/ratchet. Chime feels like progress. The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by the Bancorp Bank North America or Stride Bank North America. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Out-of-network ATM withdrawal and OTC advance fees may apply. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details. Let me see. What else do we have on our list? There's a bunch of stuff that's been going on. We're not going to be able to get to everything this episode. I do want to talk about two things. We talked about trad wives last week. The trad wife from Ballerina Farm. The trad wife did put up a response to the article. I don't follow her content. I just heard that she put up a response. So I went to her page and I saw people saying that the way that she responded is very unlike her. She usually just posts the pictures and talks about whatever she talks about. And, people have their responses, good, bad, or indifferent. And she usually doesn't respond, but she did respond to this one. She posted a video that showed snippets of, her life on the farm, her and her family. And she did a voiceover. She noted in the video that this is not the first time the family has been interviewed. She did feel like this journalist had an agenda. She said the journalist attacked, that's quote unquote, that's the word she used, attacked her family and her marriage. She wanted people to know that she is not oppressed. Consistently throughout the video, she used the word we to talk about the decisions that she and her husband have made for their lives, for their families. They are co-CEOs. They are co-partners. They are in this together. They are very much a we. I took a few notes. She is very proud of her husband, of her family, of her children. She says marrying her husband is the best day of her life. She said she loves her husband more today than she did when she married him. She says that she is doing what she loves most. She also said that she and her husband plan to make more babies. They're at 8 and they're going to have more babies. And the lady's already taken to bed for a full week every month due to exhaustion. That's out her husband's own mouth. Unless the journalist was making up quotes. At least get some help. I thought it was notable. She said that she felt like the article was an attack on her family and her marriage, but she never accused the reporter of lying. Did your husband consistently speak over you like the for the duration of the interview? Like, did that happen? Does your husband not allow you to have epidurals, and do you take to bed for 1 week per month due to exhaustion? Is that or is that not true? She said it was skewed, but she didn't say the lady lied. I hope the lady okay. She's a pretty white woman in America. If she's not okay, someone will eventually come to her rescue. I don't need to be overly concerned about it, but just, it was a very jarring read. I'm just saying, get that lady some help. The nanny ain't got to live in a house. I mean, y'all got enough land. You could put a little side place for the nanny. The nanny can have like her own little cottage. Remember that cottage that Oprah had Stedman living in when he was quarantining during COVID? You could have something like that for the nanny. I think this is last but not least for us. Oh no, I want to talk about one other thing after this. Cardi B, she has announced again that she is divorcing her husband, Offset. She has filed for divorce. I think she actually has gone as far as filing previously, but she has filed for divorce once again. And then on the same day, she announced that she is pregnant with their third child. People have been talking about Cardi's pregnant, but she hasn't said anything, which is fine. She ain't got to tell us unless she wants to. But everybody knew because she started wearing like the Ashanti jerseys. I wrote, I don't usually be on threads like that. I've had an account for a while. I just don't post over there. But I started participating more over there recently. But I wrote about Cardi and I wrote something that I thought was very uncontroversial. I just said, announcing a divorce and a pregnancy on the same day is a lot. And I said, my prayers are with Cardi. I was very sincere in saying that. We talked about divorce multiple times on the podcast. And my response is always the same. Like, I think it's hell on earth. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I always express empathy for people going through divorce, but women especially. But going through a divorce while being pregnant, everything that's going on with your body, and then, preparing literally for a new life to enter into the world, that's a lot. And then divorcing your husband in the middle of that, that's just it's a lot. Like I didn't think saying it's a lot is controversial or expressing empathy, sympathy, or any sort of care for a woman going through a pregnancy and a divorce. I just didn't expect so many people to push back on it. That thread, that post got I don't know, over 100,000 views. And I was like, are you serious? But it was a really lengthy discussion topic. And many people, I would say maybe like 25, 30%, like there was a very vocal, I mean, it was minority, but it was a vocal minority were like, why do you have empathy for her? Like she knew what she chose. Like she got what she deserved. And I was like, hey, people make mistakes. I'm not saying that creating children are mistakes. Marrying the wrong person could be one. No one makes the best decisions for every decision that they make in their lives. People do dumb shit. Even knowing that Offset was, and Cardi has said she's not leaving him this time because of cheating. She said there was a lot going on. It was a long time coming. Although it comes on the heels of another rumor about Offset cheating with his very pregnant ex. Apparently, they were out at a casino. Offset said they weren't there together. They were just there at the same time. And I'm like, what are the odds? What are the odds? You and your ex end up at a casino at the same time and y'all are chilling and somebody takes a picture. And just because he's had so many run ins with public infidelity on his wife, you would think he would be more mindful of the optics, even if he just ran into his ex. Like, even if it was genuinely like I saw her somewhere. Like, you didn't think maybe that should have been a hi or a bye and then you go your separate ways so as not to give the appearance of cheating on your wife once again. But on the heels of that rumor is when Cardi has filed for divorce and then made a public announcement about being pregnant and, doing this part of her life solo and focusing on herself and her children. So she didn't necessarily make an announcement that she was leaving Offset. She just filed and the story came out. So many people were like, she doesn't deserve empathy or sympathy or care of any kind because like she knew who she was dealing with. And like, why didn't she leave him after the first time she cheated? Like, this is what she signed up for. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so she made a bad decision. It doesn't make it hurt any less. I would dare to say that it might hurt even worse to like be unhappy and then try to stick it out with someone because you really want to be with them for whatever reasons that you do. It's her husband, and I'm not going to try to get into that. But you wanted to make it work and you tried. Isn't that what people tell wives to do all the time? It's such a catch 22. People tell wives like, you're married. It's not a boyfriend girlfriend situation. Take it seriously. Try to work it out. Try to push through. It's a sacrament. Marriage matters. God hates divorce. All things that people say to women when they're unhappily married and they express it. You tell wives to work it out with their husbands. You tell wives to be committed. You tell wives, like, okay, marriage has up and downs. Like, you don't make it to 50 years. Grandmothers stay. Why aren't women today like the women of yesterday? Nobody honors commitments anymore. No one honors vows anymore. You see a woman that actually tried to stick through with her marriage despite her husband's multiple public infidelities. And then when she finally leaves, you call her stupid for staying. Huh? And then I also saw people like, why are you expressing, concern for her, empathy for her? She'll be fine. Her and those kids got a bunch of money. She doesn't even need Offset's money. She can move into another house, keep it pushing, keep it ticking. She'll be fine. You understand, like, money doesn't solve emotional problems. You can still have a bunch of money and still cry in the car. It's good that she has her own finances. It's good that she's able to leave and that she and her children won't be destitute. And still, having money doesn't mean you don't have feelings. If nothing else, like however you feel about Cardi, I don't think anybody could doubt that she loved that man. She's gone back to him multiple times after him playing in her face, playing in the public space, having meltdowns on social media, Instagram live over this man, fighting people. She was in a court case forever over some girls getting jumped. I want to say at a strip club over Offset's bullshit. Like, she loved that man. It might not have been healthy love. It might have been a dysfunctional relationship, but she wanted that man. And things aren't working out. She's filed for divorce. This is at least the second time she's done so. That hurts. But you married somebody, took vows for them, envisioned a whole life and future with them. He's the father of her 3 kids. And then, like, the day she announces divorce, like, it's not even like it's 5 years later, but the day she announces divorce, you can't even find any sympathy for her. She got money. She'll be okay. Money does make life easier. It doesn't shield you from actual feelings and actual emotions. Like, people with money still get depressed. People with money still have feelings. They still have problems. Remember that TD Jakes book I was talking about forever and a day? Do I still have it on my Audible? There's literally a whole chapter in there that talks about people think money will insulate them from all the problems that they have in their lives. And that's just not how money works. Like, people think, oh, if I get this dollar amount, or if I own these things, or if I'm in these social circles, if I get these titles, if I get these degrees, then like my life will be perfect. And that's just not how life works. Like, you're still human. Life still be lifing. In the summer, you probably find yourself spending a lot more money eating out. It's okay, it happens to the best of us, but with Home Chef, you can save time and money while still getting that dining out feeling. Home Chef provides fresh ingredients and chef designed recipes conveniently delivered to your doorstep to simplify your cooking experience. Whether you prefer classic meal kits with pre portioned ingredients and easy instructions, speedy recipes ready in less than 30 minutes, oven ready kits with pre chopped ingredients, or quick microwave meals that assemble in minutes, Home Chef has you and the entire family covered for delicious meals without the hassle. My favorite thing about Home Chef is not only is it convenient, but it's economical too. Home Chef customers save an average of $86 per month on groceries. And they have over 30 options a week and serve a variety of dietary needs, so you don't have to worry about what to make ahead of time. For a limited time, Home Chef is offering my listeners 18 free meals plus free dessert for life. And of course, free shipping on your first box. Go to homechef.com/ratchet. That's homechef.com/ratchet for 18 free meals and free dessert for life. homechef.com/ratchet. Must be an active subscriber to receive free dessert. Speaking of divorce, this is actually our last topic. We'll get to some of the Olympic stuff next week. Rachel Lindsay, the first Black bachelorette, she married this guy, a dentist. I don't even remember his name. They're divorced. They had no children. They were married 4 or 5 years. He is receiving alimony, which I'm like, sir, you're a doctor. You ain't got no work. He moved to be where she was, and I guess gave up his dental practice and never was able to get back on his feet. That's the only reason I could think of that Rachel is paying him 13,000, over 13,000 American USD dollars and dineros per month. I think it's like 13.5, 13.6. Also, I was like, God damn, I didn't know Rachel was taking money like that. A percentage of your good check is $13,000 a month. And I was like, oh, Rachel making money. Yet and still, don't nobody want to cut a check to an ex-husband. So apparently she sent her ex-husband his little payment, his alimony money, and she put in the subject for the leech or for leeching or something like that. She called the man a leech. He's the one that went public and told people that Rachel called him a leech. She's not running around talking about the man's a leech. She did, essentially call the man a leech to his face. But she's not publicly shaming him. She's privately shaming him to him. She ain't happy about cutting that check. I wouldn't be either. I remember when I moved home, I left New York, and I'm still married. I hadn't filed for divorce. I left in July. I told him I was leaving him on my birthday. But I moved back home. I had still wanted to work things out because I didn't want to divorce him. I wanted him to like get his shit together. And we were in a place that let me back up. I was in a place like I had really bad mental health issues. Like I was depressed. I was just in a really bad place. Like things had occurred that it made it impossible. It made it unsafe for me to be in the house with him. I had to get out of that situation. But I did still want to work on our marriage and see if we could get to a better place. So I moved home, and maybe around November, December, I still hadn't filed for divorce. And he was very clear that he wasn't filing, but also was very much not doing anything to get us to a better space. He checked out. I still hadn't completely let go yet. So I was sitting at the kitchen table one day, and my mom said, "Did you file for divorce?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Demetria, when you gonna do it?" I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Stop asking me. My mom is very Claire Huxtable. Rarely curses, not a lewd or crude woman. She said, "Demetria," she said, "you gonna fuck around, pay that nigga alimony." And I was like, oh my God. Just the idea of having to write him a check every month or give him a lump sum of my money. I called the lawyer the next morning and was like, I need to file. I need to file immediately. We got to stop the clock. Like, I cannot pay him alimony. That was the reason I finally went ahead and filed. I was already on a spiral. That sent me in a whole nother direction. I was like, no, 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 you can't have my money. You absolutely may not have my money. Oh, God. I literally filed the next day. I called the lawyer at 9:02 the next morning and was like, "Hi, hello, yes. So me and my husband had come in a couple months ago. You followed up, but I hadn't followed back up. Well, I'm following up. I need to file like now, like today. When is the soonest I can file? 'Cause I can't pay him alimony." It was not right for Rachel to call that man a leech. That was wrong of her. That is not helping a clearly already tense situation. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying I understand why she did it. What I don't understand though, I'm like, Rachel girl, and I mean this is sister girl, woman to woman, bay to bay. You a lawyer. Your daddy is a judge. Your sister, I don't remember what she did for a living, but she was on the show. Her edges was laid real, real good. And she had great common sense. I was like, I don't understand how you ended up in a situation with no prenup. Ain't that much love or good dick in the world, sweetie. Like you had funds and ends and dividends going in. How you end up paying this man 13,000 American USD dollars and dineros every month, sis? don't like that he taking Rachel money. I don't like it at all. But I was like, baby, the judge ain't say nothing to you about getting married with no prenup. Your sister ain't say nothing to you about getting married with no prenup. Girl, you ain't say nothing to you about getting married with no prenup. I did the same damn thing, but I got the fuck out before I had to pay his ass. People be like, y'all dated longer than y'all was married. You absolutely goddamn right. I was not going to be sitting around any longer than I did trying to work shit out and end up paying that man. Call me stupid if you want to. I've been called worse. But if you know it ain't working, and especially if you the breadwinner, you better get your ass out that situation ASAP, as quickly as you possibly can. These men don't feel no type of way. They don't feel no type of emasculated taking your money, girl. Fuck around and pay a nigga alimony. Girl, I'm hot just thinking about it. Oh, God. And no, I did not have to pay him alimony. If I had to pay him alimony, I would have been the bitterest bitch on earth. Oh, my God. All right. That's the episode. We'll talk about all the Olympic stuff next week. Because this girl that's trying to like hold Simone Biles accountable for some dumb shit she did. Do we have time to talk about that? No, we don't. We'll talk about it on Friday. Okay, bye.